Fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort flow inside you. Come this far.
You ready?
Yep.
Yes. Hello. Welcome to Healing Outside the Box. This is our 119th show.
And my name is Rosemary Lachance, and I'm an energy healer and a spiritual therapist.
And I'm Lisa Burton, and I'm a heart-centered lifestyle coach. We are the co-hosts for this thought-provoking series and are dedicated to providing you with food for thought information and answers to all modalities of alternative healing, spiritual development, animal welfare, environmental concerns, and so much more in the form of guest speakers who are experts in their field. If you know of any subjects or any guests that you would like us to discuss or bring people on the show who you think would make an interesting guest, please let us know. Please also like us on Facebook under Healing Outside the Box, where you can learn about and see pictures of some of our past guests and ask questions or leave a comment. So enjoy the show.
Okay, Lisa. Tonight's show is titled One Man's Faith. And our guest tonight is John Baldino. Welcome, John.
Hi, thank you.
Welcome.
All right. Our show tonight is a little bit different. I wanted you all to meet a truly spiritual, but not religious, man. A simple man who has unwavering faith and love for God. To listen to him talk was such an inspiration for me, and I would love to share that with all of you. In our present times when people think God is dead or he is not listening and he doesn't care about us, I truly hope that after you listen to this man, your faith will be renewed. I know that mine was. Okay, a little information about John. John has lived in Northford for 35 years. He was a school teacher for 35 years. He graduated from Southern Connecticut State University with a BS, master's degree, and 6-year degree. He is married 57 years to his high school sweetheart, Dottie, and they have 9 children and 30 grandchildren. Wow, that's so great.
That must be some Christmas.
And 4 great-grandchildren. Okay, so now, John also, well, I'll talk about that later when we get there. All right. So where do you think your faith response to God will lead you? And how did this all get started? How did your faith become so strong? And
Well,
tell your story.
okay. Well, first of all, I'm not an expert.
No, I know.
Okay.
This is your
Okay. This is one man's
faith.
And it's my faith.
Right.
And the important aspect here is that I'm not a deacon. I'm not a priest.
Oh.
I don't sell a book. I don't want to sell a book.
Right.
I don't want to write a book.
Right.
I'm willing to share my experiences. Maybe it will connect to other people who have that same level of development.
Mm-hmm.
It's a journey. It's a special journey, and as your question goes, well, where does the Lord take me? How does one respond to a spiritual response to God, and where it is? Well, I'm here. That's one response. So that's a risk on my part.
I know.
Because I've never done this before.
I know.
So I said, all right, should I or shouldn't I? But I thought about that and prayed a little bit on it and said, why should I share my faith? It's personal. Your faith is personal. Someone else is personal. It's a relationship with their God in their own special way. And I was saying to myself, my special way. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, I would do it.
I know. I was worried you wouldn't.
Well, I've discovered that faith and belief are opposites. A belief tends to be passive, but faith is active. And you would see, well, if we share enough, I will show you how it's active with me.
Yes.
But I guess my start would be, I am a Christian, first of all and foremost. I'm a Christian because of culture. my grandparents, my mother and father. I am what I am as a Christian, and conviction didn't come in later to my life. But hold on to that word conviction, because you could throw it back at me, and I want to share other things with you. But
all right.
Culturally, that was it, and why I am identified as a Christian. Just some historical background here. Jesus is my faith. And so I'm going to go back to his name. Jesus was a name given at his birth. And with Jesus, it was in the first century, a lot of people were called Jesus.
Yes, they were.
Same way they call me John. And there's a lot of Johns in every house. But John is there. And so Jesus was the name. And the name for Jesus is representation. And what does it mean? It means one who saves. And it's derived from Joshua. And Joshua was the one with Moses. And it meant saved. It's the saving of a nation. And Jesus came to save. He's a savior. He's my savior.
Exactly.
And along the way, he became known as Jesus the Nazarene.
Yes.
Or Jesus from Nazareth.
Right.
And why the adjective? The adjective is to say, oh, look, there's Jesus, but he's the one from Nazareth. Let's say, well, a lot of Johns. Well, he's John. He's from Northford. You see?
Right. Yeah.
And so it was an adjective. Now, one of the apostles, Paul, he identified the word Messiah with Jesus too. Now, Messiah is the anointed one, but that's the Hebrew word for it. And so Paul comes along and he says, well, Christo. He'll translate that to Greek. And it became Jesus Christ, one who saves, and he's the anointed one. And so in the early first century, Paul in his travel began to identify in Antioch Christian. And Christians were identified. Of course, they were killed.
Yes.
But Paul made a very important point, which is important as a Christian, is that he said that as individuals, how do I tell that that's a Christian and that isn't? And he says how that person acts and how that person talks. Mm-hmm. That's paramount in a faith situation for me.
That's right.
Why is it important for me? Well, because it says that I could be a Christian by name, but I'm not a Christian by action.
Right. I know what you mean. Yep.
Mm-hmm. You see, you have to live the values and the beliefs that you have and saying, yes, I am Christian, and this is why I'm a Christian. You don't have to ask me. You could see me.
Right.
And you could see what I do. And that's an active part. So being a Christian is also an active part, as my faith is an active part. You can't be passive in that situation.
No.
So culturally, I was, but I wasn't what I consider a Christian in terms of action, because with a cultural background, I didn't have an understanding. There was no strength in my understanding.
Right.
There was no inner feeling. There was nothing for me to explode with. Say, hey, that's it, And that's when it's sort of a transition, and I come to conviction. And conviction now says, I've studied it. I thought about it. I read about him. He's an amazing guy, and I really like him. I really feel part of him. And that's what I want to be. I still want to be a Christian. I want to be part of his life, and he part of mine. And that's part of my journey. And that's reflected in it, and what we do, what I say. And we all go through a spiritual journey. And each of us goes according to their own way,
right,
in their own direction,
exactly,
based on their own experiences, based on their own love. But the important thing with Jesus is his transforming love, ability to change us into something better than what we are, and that's important.
It is.
Okay, so conviction is a very important thing.
I did the same thing you did. I didn't know. All I knew about Jesus was that he, what he did, he saved us. He was our savior and all. But I didn't know. So I got some books. And I started reading and studying about him. And then same thing I said at you. I said, I like this man. I really do. I like the way he thinks and feels. And yeah, I'd like to follow the way he teaches and everything. And same thing happened to me. Yeah, just like that part of it. Yeah.
Good.
So would you say it was more of an evolution for you, or there wasn't one defining moment?
No, it's a process. I just grew in that process. Go back to the word conviction. I'll play with. I'm going to tell a story that will illustrate both my belief somewhere along the line, and we'll explain it about my conviction. In a kingdom of Wirsum, in a little town of Eher, there was these major characters. There was a prince, there was an old man, there was a bird, and there were horses. Those are major characters. And this old man they say he was maybe a year younger than dirt. So that meant he was, he'd been pretty old,
Yeah.
But people loved him. And he had a little cottage off the side of the village. And the cottage was, he had a little garden. He has 2 horses in the pasture there in a little pen. And he had books, leather books in his home. And he would trade with a peddler that would come by, and he would know that he wants book. So he was a well-learned man, and he would go into the little village and market day twice a week, and he would share his thoughts just like we're sharing with people, and he would tell stories, and people would listen to him because they admire him, and he said, "Oh wow, this is great," and he would bring in his vegetables, were the biggest vegetables, the best cheese from his goats and his cow. He just seemed to know, how to do things. Yeah. Now he would talk, and the people would surround around him, just like we're talking now, in a fellowship way. And then suddenly a prince comes riding out towards the village, and the prince is on a big, the white horse, shiny white horse. He hopping about, and he comes into the village, and he would throw coins down, and people would run, and little kids would run and pick him up, and he liked this. He liked the admiration. He liked the glory that comes with it. But whenever he came in on the days when the old man was there, they wouldn't leave. They would sit there and wouldn't bother him. Now, the prince begins to show what we all show in some aspect of our lives: jealousy, envy, hate, revenge, for this guy who's doing nothing. And he didn't like the attention the old man was getting, so he says, "Oh, I'll fix him." So he goes back to the kingdom with the king. And he never tells his father, but he goes to the 3 advisors, and he says to the 3 advisors, he says, we got to do something here. That man we got to get rid of. And you have to come up with a plan of action that would make him look foolish, and we can get rid of him. And the 3 advisors said to him, "Who is it?" And he mentions the old man in the village. And the 3 of them look at each other like, "I'm looking at you, you're looking at me," and saying, "No, I know that man," because the 3 of them used to go at night and go down there and ask for his advice, you see. And he said, we can't do that. He says, "What did he ever do to you?" "Nothing. I just want him out. That's it, finished." And he says, "Well, we can't do that for you." He said, "I want you to come up with a plan so I can get rid of him. And if you don't do it, I'm going to tell my father and something about you, and have the 3 of you expelled or killed."
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
So the 3 of them probably got into panic. It's preservation here. So they think of a plan. And so here's the plan. He said to him, he says, "Look, you take this bird and put it in your hand. And when you ask him the question and say, is the bird alive or dead in my hand? Now, if he says he's alive, you squash the bird and kill it. And he's wrong. And then you could do what you want with him. Right. If it's in reverse,
right,
you've opened your hand and let the bird fly.
Right.
And, the prince was so happy. He says, oh, brother, this is great. I got him now. So he comes into the village. He rides his horse right up to where the old man is speaking. And he says to the old man, he says, oh, man, I want to talk to you. Now the people go in the back in a panic. Because here's the prince on his horse, and he's going to go after this old man, and they didn't know what to do, and they all back away. And so he says to the old man, he says, old man, he says, I have a bird in my hand, and I want you to tell me if it's living or dead because you're so smart. Mm-hmm. And if you're wrong, you're out of this village.
Oh, boy. And
I'll ask my father to kill you. So now the people are in a panic. Mm. They love the old man, but they didn't know what kind of answer it would be.
Right.
Do you want to venture an answer? Do you think
I think he thought of something very clever.
Yes.
I'm not that clever.
Me neither.
You're absolutely right. It's clever. So he says to the man, he says to the prince, he says, I think it will be whatever you want it to be, alive or dead.
Ooh.
Wow.
You have the choice.
Wow.
And so he gets all upset and he goes back to the father and the king. And now the father discovers what he's done, and the father's furious. Now the old man is a kind old man, and he hears that the father's upset with the son and he's going to do something. Now the old man goes to the king and he says, I think the boy is fine. I think he's experienced incorrect, and maybe we could help save him. Mm-hmm. It's what I would expect from the old man. He says, well, I'm going to save this kid. He says, send him to me. And as a gift, and I will bring a change on him. Now, all this time, his horse was turning gray. It went from a white horse to a gray horse. And the people were saying, why is the horse turning gray? And he said, well, maybe it's what he's eating. But the horse was reflecting the mood of the prince. Mm-hmm. And so he brings him down, this gray horse, and he puts him in the meadow with the other two horses, and he puts him in the middle, and the boy stays there in the change, a gift and freedom to choose. That's what conviction is, the right to choose. And he chose. He said, all right, I'll go with the old man. And the old man invited him. He had faith in him. He taught him his ways, and he developed a great friendship.
Wow.
Now, as the boy transforms from the love of the old man, gradually the horse is no longer gray, it becomes
white
and transformed, and the boy becomes special. So special in his knowledge, because now he learns everything the man learned. He learned about how to grow things. He learned how to make things, and he was really special. And he became a great king. But it was his choice that caused him to change. And that's what conviction is. Conviction is willing to make a choice to bring a change in your life and choose God through Jesus Christ and make him a part of you. And that's the conviction. Okay? That's so important. But that story, I'm going to refer back to it again in some other question or some other issue, but I want to go back to that story. So hold on to it.
Okay.
I like that. I like that story.
Yeah, it was good. So what do you believe to have penetrated your life and activated you into a new and different person of faith?
Oh, there's
so many things, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. Okay. Since we're in story time, I might as well give you another situation. What's a classical movie that you remember that had to do with The Wizard of Oz? Remember that classic?
Yeah, I remember The Wizard of Oz, yeah.
Okay, and there were 4 characters. These 4 characters are reflecting my faith. You're going to say, well, how is this going to be, John? What are you going to do? How are you going to do this? Okay, let's see if we recall some memory, a roll back here. In The Wizard of Oz, do you remember any of the characters?
Yeah, Scarecrow,
The Scarecrow?
The Lion.
Tin Man,
Tin Man?
and what's her?
Who was it? Well,
Judy.
Dorothy.
Yeah.
Dorothy.
Oh, Judy Garland, but
Yeah,
Dorothy. Okay, there are 4 characters.
Right.
Believe me, in each of these characters, we see a vessel. And these vessels contain all of the elements that I find in my faith. Okay? Now, what did Scarecrow want? Do you remember what he wanted?
Was he brains?
Brains, yeah.
Yes, he wanted a brain. And Tin Man wanted
Heart.
heart. Okay? And the Lion,
Courage.
he wanted courage and attitude. It's courage and attitude. Put up your dukes. And that was, he had an attitude problem. Plus, he was a coward, but he needed courage. And Judas, her desire,
She wanted
Dorothy.
Dorothy. She wanted to go home.
Dorothy wanted to go home.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we have a vessel. The brain is one. The heart is another vessel. And the body is another vessel. And each of those vessels contain the elements that changed me into a stronger faith. How do you say that? Well, the brain is a place of knowledge and understanding. So the brain for me, growing in knowledge, is growing in a greater understanding of who Jesus is. I, for one, went to the Bible. The Bible explained to me some of the things Jesus did, his words, his actions, and he did so much, like they say that there aren't enough books to cover what he did. But it's his mannerism and his patience with his friends. Had a lot of patience with his friends.
Yeah.
When are you going to get this right, guys?
I know, the apostles were a tough lot. Yeah. They didn't just follow him blindly. They were constantly, asking him.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. So so the Bible for me was an inspiration. I won't get into discussion of the theory, the background, etc., or Bible A and Bible B. But to me, the Bible was authoritative. Okay, it was very important for me. So I grew in the knowledge of understanding Jesus, grew in understanding of his passion, grew in the understanding of what he went through for me to bring me salvation. And he went through a lot of pain.
Oh, yeah.
He went through so much pain that he said to his father, he says, I trust you and love you, Father, but could we go by this a little bit?
Yeah. Take this from me,
Could we just skip over it? And but he came to the conclusion, he says, well, if it's so, I'll do your will. And that was profound for me, because it says, if my faith is so strong, I have to learn to do the will of the Father rather than my own selfish will, what I want to do. And that's difficult for a Christian. Like I said, we could say I'm Christian, but living it is another thing. But Jesus lived it.
I know.
He lived exactly what he said he wanted to do. He went through a passage. He went through a process. In his story of his life, he grew into the development of who he was. Although he was God, in the form of God, he still was human in all respect except sin. So, okay, that's fine. But he went through a passage, and we don't pick him up until he's maybe 12 years old, and he's caught in the temple, and then father and mother are looking for him for 3 days and say, "Where have you been? You're driving me crazy." If the kids were, where are you? Where you been? And he says, "Well, I'm doing my Father's work." And he says, "Well, no, you can't do that. You're making me all upset, And he goes back. You see, he's starting on that passageway to develop who he was. And the next thing we hear from him is that he's growing in stature before man and God. So that means he's developed. And then he goes through the process of his baptism. Then he goes with John. And then he begins to pick his friends, developing a friendship with the ones he picked. So he went through his journey in his passage. And the disciples did the same thing. They went through their journey and passage. And then finally they came to the realization of who Jesus was. His friendship, his working together. And that's what we do.
That's what we all do, huh? Go through that process.
We go through the process. So don't go into a panic, because the process is always changing. Okay? Jesus is, as I said, he's my faith. But Jesus is as a faith, is active. So the active means motion. And motion means a journey. And what does a journey says? Well, a journey says, well, look, guys, it's how we feel. It's a condition of how we change or come about and look at something and saying that's real or that's not. It's a clarification. Okay? So it's a condition of constant clarification. And that's what we do. We clarify. So at one point we say, no, I don't want this. And the next time we say, we do want this. So I've gone through the dark stages. I've gone through pain and suffering. We all have. Okay? And faith plays a different part in each of this. So as we grow, we become better.
You know what impressed me about you?
What?
Because I met John by going to his Bible study class. I've never done that before, and I was interested. I believe, everyone has their own beliefs, and I'm interested to hear everyone what they say. And I found that most people believe in God or do what they think he wants them to do because they're afraid of him. They fear him. They fear eternal damnation and punishment and all that stuff. To me, you do what you do because you love God, not because you're afraid of God. You love him. You actually love him. And that's what that's what impressed me so much. And I wondered how you hold on to that in the face of everything. I know you had an accident recently that you were pretty banged up.
Yeah.
You could have.
Well, that's what they tell me. My leg, my knee, my shoulder, my arm, my wrist.
Everything.
Yeah, they put screws in me and wires in me. Let's put it this way. If I were to go through an airport, I think we would hear jingle bells.
You have so much in you.
But let's look at that incident for me, for my faith, and see what faith has.
Right, I'd like to hear. Tell us that, and tell us about the spiritual thing that happened to you also, the vision.
Okay.
But tell us the other first.
Faith.
Yes.
I discovered faith does not conquer pain and suffering. Pain and suffering is part of human nature. It's what we are. Jesus had pain and suffering, and he had strong faith.
Yeah.
But he still had pain and suffering. So faith has that. It doesn't conquer it.
Right.
However, faith, I discovered, provides us with the strength to be able to handle and eventually triumph that pain and that suffering, because it's there, it's strong, it's part of us. So it has the strength to overcome it. Faith can't be squashed by the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or the carrier of the cross. Okay, they're not crushed. And faith is not afraid of the darkness that comes into people's lives, because faith has a flashlight.
It's a flashlight.
What's a flashlight? You say, well, okay, what's a flashlight? A flashlight is prayer. Faith has prayer. And the battery in the light is Jesus Christ. So faith is our battery, and light is Jesus. So we have that, because that light focuses and shines on his healing power. shines on his love, shines on serenity, peacefulness, calmness. That's what it is. So faith draws all of that, even at times of suffering.
But holding on to that faith.
Holding on to that faith.
That's what people are going to ask you, are going to say. How do you hold on to that? This happened to me or that happened to me. How? There's no God. God is dead. How could he let this happen to me? How could he let this happen to me? I remember asking you the question, and you gave me a different answer.
But it's not God. See, that's human nature. Human nature, I had an accident. It's not God's fault.
Right.
Okay?
I remember what you said to me when I asked you about that. You said, what's really astounded me, you said, God has a way of turning even the worst of things into something good for everyone. And I was like,
you don't know.
Whoa, I was really impressed by that.
You don't know what it is.
I know, but you weren't mad. You weren't angry at him. You weren't.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm sure he has a reason for it. And I say that to mean that he did this to me. No, I'm just saying that life puts things in front of us. Mm-hmm. And remember I said faith is part of risk-taking. I'm being here as a risk-taking. Mm-hmm. And it puts me in a challenging position. And now he says to me, you got to choose, John. Choose right. Choose what is right. I can go in a hate level, or I can go on a love level. Mm. Maybe it's my Italian heritage. I'd rather go on the love level than the hate level. I mean, there's too much hate.
I know, and
there's not enough love. And I'm not using love as a cliche. I'm saying love is very special. Love of my family, love of people, love of my God. Each has a different dimension. Each has a different depth. You know, I see God as awe, as wonder and awe, mm-hmm. and the wonder and awe brings it more to the level of spirituality, a deeper love, mm-hmm. and a strong feeling, and that's what it is to me, you know. So I would say that intelligence would be an important aspect, an element in the vessel of the brain, in the vessel of the heart. I would say love, transforming love. There's nothing greater than love. Love, God gave us his only begotten Son, and his Son's love gave us himself, and that love gave us salvation, and we're saved. You see, it's it.
That's the greatest
news. We got the purchase.
Yeah.
You know, he got the ticket for us.
Everybody focuses on the death when we should be focusing on the
resurrection.
Life. Right.
You're absolutely right.
That's what's the meaning of the whole thing. They keep putting him up there, hanging all the time. Turn it around, look at the other side like you do with your walk, which we're going to talk about. Just a plain cross to say, look what he did for us.
Well, you see, let's go along that line. I wasn't thinking of it, but now that you brought it up, if you put the cross up and you have the crucified cross and you have the resurrected cross, you know, without the cross of passion, the crucified cross, we wouldn't have the resurrection cross. I always view the cross on a spinner, and we see the passion, and we have to come to mind saying what he did for us. He suffered for us. That wasn't just God could have done just like that, mm-hmm. but he showed his love in both cases, his Son's love and his love, saying, I'm willing to suffer all of this for your sin, to show you how much I love you. Every parent knows that. How many parents would take over an illness or situation saying, I wish it's me,
right?
and
that's true.
Not you. Mm-hmm. I would do that. Mm-hmm. Say, no, I'll do that.
For my children, sure.
Yes. Now, God give us any less because we're his children? He loves us and mm-hmm. he cares for us. So love is an important vehicle, and that's of the heart. That's the element we put in the heart. Now, when we look at the other aspects of courage, of an attitude change, we talk about self-control, we talk about dedication, we talk about trust. Those are all elements that infused in me to make my faith grow. I mean, self-control is very important because, see, in our world, listen to the TV or radio or go outside or see the situations. We are covered with a lot of situations that pull us away from God.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Temptations.
And we need the self-control to do that, okay? And we need the force to do that. So sometimes I say, Lord, I am very weak, but it's you I seek. I ask for your hand most every day just to live the Christian way. Now, if your strength you do give me, then I could do your will. And then each day will start anew, and I will learn to live and love like you. You see, I need that help from him to make me move to the direction. So I need that self-control because I'm a weak person. Just because I'm here talking about my faith, I don't want you to say I'm a paragon of virtue, because you can talk to my wife and she'll clarify that. You mentioned the fact that I have 9 children, but if you talk to Dottie, she said, I don't have 9 children, I have 10.
Oh, you too, huh?
You do the 10.
You laugh. You would probably say the same thing, but I'm making humor out of it. But I'm just saying that I just want to show that I'm just a normal person, just like anyone else. That I have a faith journey. I do experience things that you experience. I do believe. Okay, and that's very important. I just recall a point. I like Star Wars, and I like science fiction. And besides mysteries, but I like Skywalker, Luke Skywalker, and Yoda.
Yep.
This is a classical example. Well, he flies into the compound to go to find Yoda because he wants to learn from him, as the apostles want to learn from Jesus to grow and be perfect. And so he goes to Yoda. He says, "I want this. I want to be like you." So Yoda says, "Okay." And he comes down with his plane, lands, the plane falls down, and he comes out and he learns all the things he needs to learn. And then Yoda says to him, he says, "Okay, make that plane fly. Use your power to make the plane fly." And Luke says, "I can't make that T-wing fly." He said, "Yeah, go try it." And he concentrated really hard. He couldn't make the plane lift up. So Yoda goes over there and comes on the side, and he starts thinking, and all of a sudden the plane lifts up, and he says, now of course I'm playing with his words a little bit. He says, "Oh my God, I don't believe it." And Yoda says to him, "That's your problem. You don't believe."
That's very good. That's very, you're right.
You see,
yes.
You have to believe. And that leads us to trust. Trust is another process. It takes courage to trust. It takes courage to take the risk. I trust you, and I trust you. You trust me. And, well, we don't know how far that trust goes at what level.
Exactly.
It says, he's going to push me off the bridge or not.
Right.
I'm here saying what kind of questions they're going to ask me. I'll be embarrassed, but I trust you. You see, so I'm willing to take that risk. So trust is very important, and giving your trust to Jesus is something you have to give within you. You can't fake it out. It has to be given to you. So it's faith, dedication. Faith needs a dedication. Faith needs a commitment. It's a commitment to your belief. It's a commitment to a way of life. It's a commitment to give you the strength to change who you are. You see, that's important.
And the opposite of that, the opposite of God and faith and Christ and all that, is emptiness. Nothing. Right? There's nothing. There's nothing there. Nothing to hold on to, right? Nothing.
You're right. Absolutely right.
Nothing. So, I mean.
But that's your choice, right?
Yeah, it is.
You want nothing. That's your choice. You see, I remember reading in Scripture that Paul was with the Greeks, and the Greeks, you couldn't go 2 steps without coming across a god. They all had statues. It had statues, and Paul went around and he says, and he sees a statue, and on the bottom it says, "God unknown." And so Paul says to them, "Hey, okay." He says, "Well, who's that?" He says, "That's my Jesus."
Really?
That's you don't know him, but that's my Jesus. But it's just humorous to a point, saying, yeah, you don't know me. You know your gods, but do you know my God? Mm-hmm. And he's a known God. Mm-hmm. And that's what we have to do. So I think that's it. I think knowledge is important, and the elements that you would find, and that comes from knowledge and understanding. Trust comes from courage. Love comes from the heart. Self-discipline is courage. Dedication takes courage. So those are all the elements that that fall into those vehicles that I'm telling you from there. Now, with Dorothy, she wants to go home. Where do we go? We die.
We go home.
We go home.
That's right.
And where's home? Home is how we live this life, and the love we show to God and the love we show to people. That follows the 12 commandments as far as I'm concerned. The 3 are for God, and then we're so stupid, we say to God, well, how do I handle other people? He said, well, here, think about these things. Don't steal, don't
You're
kill,
right.
don't.
Commandments,
You know, here's what you have to do. So you see, love transferred from A, love automatically transfers to B. If you love me, I don't need to tell you. Mm-hmm. You see?
Exactly.
And that's what's so important.
We've got about 20 minutes left, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
So I want to address a couple of things before we finish. And
Sure.
I want to tell our audience that every year, from when Lent begins until Easter, John walks with a cross on his shoulders down for how long?
3.5 miles.
3.5 miles. He does it every single day. And we're going to show you a picture of him walking with this cross. There he is, with the traffic and everything else. Now, 2 questions I have. What made you decide to do that, and what's the reaction of people when they see you? What made you decide, first of all?
I guess I was. It generated. The truth of the matter, it generated out of 9/11.
Really?
Yes, it did. It was 01, but I started in 02. And in that point, it really bothered me because people died knowingly and unknowingly. They died, and it didn't. I became upset with it, deeply upset, so deeply that my heart went on its knees. And I felt very hurt with that. But there was not much I could do except what maybe a lot of people did was to pray. Mm-hmm. But it bothered me a lot. And I saw the flag, and I saw people, and it was a half-mast. But the flag was what stimulated me to another type of thinking. A flag has substance and form. It has substance because the flag represents all that we believe in America. It's history. The flag is all of that. Our past, our present, history, democracy, and the people that died for that. You know, the red, the blue, the white, the stars. I said, and it had form. It was very simple. And I said, you know, I have to get something with substance and form. And I said, and then I says, well, you know, Jesus died on a cross. That's an icon, like a flag is. Mm-hmm. I said, I'm going to use a cross. Mm-hmm. It's simple, and it definitely has substance. But I said, well, I'll use that. And since I feel faith is action in motion, I said, well, why don't I make, instead of a picture of a flag, of a cross and me, I said, well, maybe I'll move it.
Wow.
So I decided to make it a passion, a journey motion, and that's my journey. But it was not so much my journey; it was a journey reflected to others.
You were saying to people what with this? What was your message? What's your message as you walk with this?
I wanted people to begin to think for themselves. I didn't want to send my thoughts. It has nothing to do with my thoughts. It's saying to you, you do it. Look, we read, we understand. We have a star and stripes in a flag, and we have a cross, and all 3 are symbols. okay, they have special meaning. Okay, it has symbolic meaning, sustained by an interfacilitation of an intricate hierarchy of substrata factors.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
You say, oh,
That's
wow,
a mouthful.
that's a book, wasn't it? No, but what I'm saying, I'm making it humorously. I'm just saying, break that down, John. What it says is that each of us has our own experiences. Each of us has our own knowledge. We bring that knowledge and understanding to a book to read. We bring it to the stars and stripes as special meaning. For other people, they not have that same meaning as I have. Okay? Then we have the cross. It has its meaning. Not the same meaning I have, but it has a meaning. So when I walk with the cross, I'm saying to you, think about it. I don't want you to think the way I think, because you don't know what I think.
Right.
Maybe now you do.
Right.
But you don't know what I think. And so you think. You have that freedom. There's your gift. There's your freedom gift. Remember the old man to the prince? He gave him a gift?
Right.
And what was the gift? The gift was what we have with our faith. We have faith in someone. We have faith in Jesus. He had faith in the old man. He had, the old man gave him knowledge and understanding. We have knowledge of belief and values from Jesus. The old man and the son got friendship. They have developed a friendship, fellowship. We get fellowship with Jesus. And when we march with Jesus and being part of it, we grow with Jesus as the prince grew with the old man, and we grow with Jesus. That's the faith.
That's the faith. And what kind of reaction do you get from people as you're walking?
Fun. I wrote something humorously concerning my crosswalk.
Tell us about it. Yeah.
May I read it?
Yes, read it.
Okay. Something like this. Why the crosswalk, you do ask? Why the early morning task? There is, of course, a reason. It's during a special season. A gadfly I do desire, first to shock, then I hope to inspire. When the cross then I did show, shine forth the pictures you're now going to hear below. Some did give their horns a toot, others didn't care a hoot. Some did share a happy smile, others took a little while. Some did give what's that eye blink, others did a question and let me think. Some gave a victory sign, others' gestures are not so fine. Some gave me a flashing wink, others thought I lost a link. Some shared words to encourage, others words to discourage. Some a meaning they did see, clearly etched upon the tree. It was an act, ages past, that will never be surpassed. A great son who did obey, did it all his Father's way. His Father who sits above gave his Son to show his love. His Son died for you and me upon the cross called a tree. All this so we would not die, then to heaven we may fly. So this cross you now do see shines God's love eternity. Now the way the cross I raise to give my God our thanks and praise.
Oh, that's just beautiful.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful.
So
that's wonderful. That is so beautiful.
That's it.
So tell us now, going back, what happened to you in the hospital. You had that vision, and the
I
doctor.
don't know if people would believe it, but
I believe it. But go ahead, because
I was in the hospital and I didn't know what was going on, and thank God that he took my memory away from me. But I was there for a while, and they couldn't find a doctor or doctors because they had to do separate operations. One was going to do one was going to do another one, and they had to coordinate all things, so it was all waiting. So finally it came time, and one of my daughters was next to me, I think it was Dory, and she says to me, "Dad, we haven't gotten a doctor yet." And I said, well, that's all right. And she said, well, maybe we'll leave it in God's hands. Whatever it's going to be, it'll be. We'll take care of it. He brought me this far. We'll just let it ride. So after a couple of days, they come up to me and they say, I got a paper for you to sign. We have a doctor for you. But it'll take a couple operations because we can't coordinate the doctors. So I signed with my left hand and scribbled. And then it came time for the operation. and he brings another piece of paper to me. He says, "Oh, that doctor's not going to do it. We have another doctor for you. You got to sign your name." So I says, "Well, what doctor?" He says, "Well, he's in the room." I looked down the hall, and in the hall there was someone in a white uniform or white clothing. And he's going like this to me. I go, "Oh, I guess he must know me. I'll sign my name." It's okay. There's no hall.
You were looking at a wall, right?
I'm looking at a wall. There was no hall. Nobody wears white. So I okayed it, and I said, "It's all right." And I said, "I guess he knows me."
Right.
Go to find out, the doctor that performed the operation lives in Northford. Dr. Bumgarner, he knew me. He knew me.
Right.
And I thought it was him. I didn't know it was him.
You didn't know it was him? No, you did. You just saw a figure in white.
So because I said, "Well, he waved to me, he must know me," you know.
Right.
But I discovered that it was him. But not only that, I think it was a 5-hour operation, and he did my arms and my legs, and he says, "You were held up so well, I continued doing it." So I did, and I had prayed. I said, "Lord, I don't mind doing this once, but please don't let me do it twice," you know. And I said, "You come to my help so many times, I don't want to keep asking you." But I did. I saw him, and I don't know.
Isn't that wonderful? That was wonderful.
I don't know. So
That's
wonderful.
happened.
Wow.
Don't believe it or not.
So what would you say, right? Do you have anything to ask? I seem to be
That's fine. No, I'm just enjoying the
right? Yeah.
the thoughts. Yeah.
What would you say now to people who, today in this world, people keep saying God is dead, God doesn't care about us, there is no God, there's this, there's that, and the other. One thing I gathered from you, I would think, would be go out and get knowledge, read, and learn. But you tell us, how can somebody, if they said, "John, I want to believe, but how am I going to do it? How do I do this? How do I hold on to God in these terrible times when my child is killed, or I lost a leg, or somebody I love has cancer, or something, this and that and the other?" And I always blame him, and I wonder why. What would you say to them? How can someone learn, even if they don't have any of those terrible things happening, still, they want to have a faith, but they don't know how to do it? In the nutshell, right? They don't know how to do it. How would you start?
There's ways of doing it. Remember I said conviction is a matter of choice? You have to want to bring about a change in your life. And you have to make a decision on who will influence that life. And we all have, in the normal nature of things, we all have our ups and downs. That's human nature.
Right.
That happens. You have good times, you have bad times. Now, who are you going to blame for the good times and the bad times? We all have our dark moments. Our dark moments is living a way of life in which you can't find God because you're refusing Him by your actions. See, so if we open ourselves, God is a gift already. He's given us Himself. You always say that knock and the door will be open to you.
Right.
See, I feel the other way. I feel that the door is always open. Jesus is on the other side. He says, "Come on in." And He says, "Where are you, John? How long did it take you to get here?" You see, it's always there for us. You have to go back to conviction and make a decision and say, "Yes, I want to follow God."
That's it. Make a decision.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
And how you follow God is up to you. Now, you want to you have formal religions. You want to go with a religion and its beliefs and follow it. That's your choice. Mm-hmm. Fine, go ahead.
Right.
I have my choice, and I go in my direction. I don't think that anyone should expect someone to be a faith of my faith. Dorothy doesn't have my faith.
Yeah, you're right.
My wife.
Yeah.
I have 9 children. They're all different
beliefs and everything.
They have belief in Jesus Christ, but they have a different practice and belief and values. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's all different. I have a daughter who marries a minister up in Texas and handling the Mexicans. I have a son who's a minister. I have a son who is a Christian but that has no affiliation with
any religion or church.
Religion. I have another son who goes to all different types of religions. He's finding himself.
Right.
That's his path. And I have 3 children that are Christian, Catholics. Okay, 2 are practicing. 1 is whatever. Okay, so you see, but I've taught them that they have to learn to make their own conviction. They can't live my choice. I would want them to.
That's
But
good.
who am I?
Right.
See, and plus, I think everyone should be responsible for their own life, and how they live their life makes them available for that quantum leap to heaven, to eternity. And that's why we see people have a struggle with their soul. There's always, the soul is constantly in a turmoil.
Yes. It is.
It's an inner and outer world.
Right.
You're talking
That's
about
good.
a box.
Inner and outer world. You're right. That's good. Yeah.
You're talking about a soul that is the greatest dimension of our being. That's a soul, spirit, and it's locked into us. And sometimes we have to let that get out of the little box and go outside to the big box. You see? To go out and beyond. We have to travel, take our soul to eternity, take our soul to the space of the sky, and look at the universe. Look at the earth and see its beauty. Look at all of what God created. Okay, that's what you have to do. But I can't tell you, but you have to feel that.
Right.
And I can't even explain the words of feeling.
It's like letting your soul breathe. I got that feeling. Letting it breathe.
I think it was Wordsworth wrote something, and he was in the garden, and he's looking at his plants and things, and he says, I felt a presence that deeply disturbed me. And at a point of which it elevated me to higher thinking. I felt something simple and sublime. And he saw that in all that was created. And that's what I'd say. I feel you have to feel that presence to be part of it. And
that's wonderful. And we're out of time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I am too. I told you it was going to go fast.
Oh, yes.
We may have to do it again.
I don't know if I can but,
well, we're going to show our contact information. As for John's contact information, he is not putting any contact information. If you would like to know more about him, if you would like to have any questions for him, you can get in touch with myself or with Lisa, and we'll get in touch with him and answer your questions, and then we'll take it from there, okay? So we'll do it. That's how we're going to do it, because John couldn't handle all the people calling his home. But we're going to give you our contact information.
Yes, to learn more information about this show or any of our past shows, please contact us at healoutsidethebox@yahoo.com, or to reach Rosemary Lachance by phone 203-627-7966, or her website, www.rosemarylachance.com. To reach me, you can try me at 203-804-0024, or visit my website, theonejoycenterforwellness.com. We are also on Facebook under Healing Outside the Box.
Okie dokie. And I'm going to read tonight's quote is, faith is staying focused on the positive and being grateful for what you have. Being grateful for what you have. Faith is trusting that the right answer to a problem will come to you. It's waiting patiently until things get resolved, knowing that prayer can be answered in many ways. Meditating on this can strengthen your faith and give you hope. Okay,
Very
John,
nice.
it was wonderful tonight. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I enjoyed it greatly.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we're going to say good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Over there.
From your hand, feel the comfort flow inside you. Come this far, you understand.